Now, it's Boomer Life, lifestyle discussion designed to make your life more engaging, meaningful, and complete. Celebrating the baby boomer generation, this is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
You are what you eat. And if you want to be tall, eat your vegetables, y'all. You are what you eat.
Well, good evening and welcome to Boomer Life here on CIL 650. Opening up with Wayne Brady and You Are What You Eat. What a perfect choice of songs from our producer, Dwayne Bishop, as we introduce our guests from YesWellness.com. Always a pleasure to welcome Dr. Paul Zicler back to Boomer Life, being an authentic card-carrying boomer. Good evening, Dr. Paul.
Good to be here.
And also joining us for the second time now is registered holistic nutritionist Patty Smythe. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. And Boomer Life, of course, with two boomers, Dr. Paul and yours truly, and Patty, well, just a wannabe. And probably a good situation to be in. Dr. Zicler is the medical director of YesWellness.com. He's been an MD for over 40 years, spending over 20 of them in the emergency department back in the day at Royal Columbian in New Westminster. And since then, my gosh, you've been an adventurous guy. You have a daughter who became a naturopath, and suddenly you started considering all of the things she was studying as they might apply to you. You even started auditing some of her courses down at the University in Washington State, and it really did open up your mind, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and it was very fascinating in that it was, we as doctors tend to be sort of in the box thinkers, and we're trained that way, and we sort of keep thinking that way, and being tested and to try to think outside of the box.
Right.
That was uncomfortable, but once you sort of get past that discomfort, then you realize that there's a much more, information in terms of health and wellness that's way beyond just allopathic or conventional medicine.
Now, that inside-the-box thinking that you were trained as a young medical student, are today's med students out at UBC, Doctor, in the same mindset, or is the regimen, is the curriculum rolling and modifying to allow a little more expanded thinking?
I definitely think so. I think that's a favorable adjustment in terms of the curriculum to make them be more open-minded, and you're seeing that in the direction of both the development of functional or integrative medicine, where the physicians are using their medical practice combined with complementary practices to make the best treatment protocol for their patients. And to even further that on, now you're seeing the specialists, the people that are supposed to be the experts in the field.
Right.
Becoming functional and integrative. I was just talking with Patty yesterday that I sent her an article on at this year's large Academy of Psychiatry, American Academy of Psychiatry meeting, a huge meeting, where there was as one of the major talks was the effect of nutrition on mental health.
Interesting.
And and the place was packed, and the information that was given was exciting and holistic.
Right.
And so you can see that, as I told you, the wheels of medicine take a while to grind, but they're grinding in the right direction.
Right. And Patty, with your recent arrival into the whole world of nutrition, you're a holistic nutritionist, and holistic to me is a fancy word for big picture. What does holistic mean to you?
It means considering the whole person,
right?
Body, mind, and spirit. So yes, definitely big picture, and helping people to live well. It's really about quality of life and living well so you can thrive and enjoy all aspects of life. So really looking at food, lifestyle, stress management, sleep quality, all sorts of things like that to find what works for you so you can live your best life.
Dr. Paul, at that recent American Psychological Gathering in which a major discussion about one's nutrition habits being directly connected to one's well-being, I wonder how many docs in the crowd were going, gosh, wow, oh my, hadn't thought about that before.
Yeah, no,
I'll bet you there were still a few who were.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you could tell from I listened to the talk and the questions thereafter, and the questions were all the basic things we're talking about today.
Sure.
The exact same questions that face our listening public are the ones that are faced by neophytes in terms of looking at nutrition in a healthy way.
And Patty, you know, the old cliche, you are what you eat, which Dwayne furnished up so brilliantly at the beginning of the show, is true. It's been around probably for millennia, and it's as true now as it was 2,000 years ago.
Definitely. Definitely. We are what we eat. And as Dr. Zickler said in previous sessions, 80% of our health is really about our food and nutrition, and 20% is what we do. So it's also how we digest and the environments that we're in, but we are what we eat for sure.
Now, Patty told me just before we began that this month of September is typically her busiest month of the year. So first and foremost, thanks for taking some time to be with us during your busiest month of the year. Why do you suppose September is so busy for a nutritionist like yourself?
September is definitely the new year.
Okay.
And especially for people who have families or children, it's the summertime, they've taken some downtime and been away, but now it's back to school, back to all the activities, back to a schedule, back to a regime. And so when you're scheduling in your fitness and all your kids' activities and all these other things, and you're going to schedule in any changes that you're going to make in lifestyle and health, now is the perfect time to do it.
And perhaps over the summer month, Dr. Paul, you've had a chance to make some resolutions that apply more to your life than they did in January when they applied to social standing. Well, I'm going to give up something or other, and I'll be terrific in a bathing suit for next summer. And of course, we all fall off that bandwagon by the end of January usually. So it's a different kind of reflection over the summer that motivates people a little more, so they get busy in September.
Yeah, and the new year in terms of kids starting school, it reflects to the seniors because we're grandparents. So we're getting that action from our children and our grandchildren. So it sort of gets us thinking in the same way.
Are you finding, because we've talked about this to both of you in the past, and Dr. Paul, you've been at it a little longer than Patty, but you've been instructing clients and patients for decades about nutrition, about better eating, about exercise, and the all-important combination of better eating and exercise. Do you feel that here in the fall of 2015, more and more people are starting to come around to that, to accept that, first of all, it's not too late, and secondly, maybe he's right. Maybe I could drop a few pounds, eat a little better, and have a lot more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've hit two things there, Sterling. One, it's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are, what condition you're in, what disability you have. It's never too late.
Okay.
And the other thing is that it's got to be enjoyable. You've got to figure out a plan that it's enjoyable for you, so you're going to sustain that change in your life.
Right. Now, I suppose, Patty, this is where you come in, because you're such a positive person. You're very upbeat. You're very energetic, and you're very smart. So when people come to you for the first time, I've had the summer. I heard you on the radio the other night, and you sounded like such a nice person. I thought I'd give you a call. So when I come to you and I say, I've had an okay summer, could have had more fun, but just I ran out of energy. So I need to up the energy level in my life. I need to make a few improvements. Where are you going to start with me or that person who's heard you on the radio and decides, okay, it's my turn now?
Well, we would definitely start by having a conversation and getting to know the person a little bit more,
Sure.
what their lifestyle is and what really is going on with them. And depending on how much work and help and support they want, we would really start with cleaning up their diet.
Okay.
And looking at their lifestyle. What can we eliminate? What can we add in? And we can go to various levels. Sometimes it's really important for that person to go back to their healthcare practitioner and get some measurements and see where are they at physically. Mm-hmm. And then we can make some very specific changes. But in general, getting rid of the sugars, getting rid of the processed foods, replacing it with lots of plant foods, lots of fresh vegetables and some fruits, mainly berries, those sorts of things. Making sure there's some movement in their lifestyle, whatever movement that is that's going to work for them, that, as Dr. Ziegler says, that they enjoy.
Right.
And those sorts of things. And just really cleaning up the diet is the first place we would start.
Well, I'm just trying to think that, and because you are such a positive person, a lot of times, Dr. Paul, when we make these resolutions, and I'm thinking, of course, of the January stuff that never pans out, but, we do it with sort of, there's a sense of honesty about it. I recognize that I'm a little overweight. It certainly wouldn't hurt me one iota to drop 20 pounds, and in the process maybe do a little bit more walking, get the blood flowing a little more. So when we start to think positively about what we might do with ourselves, that's not the time to start coming on with don't do this and get rid of that and don't. You can't be negative when a person is trying to make a really positive change. That's a moment to really seize the positives, isn't it, Patty?
It's definitely, and September is actually even a more perfect time than January to embrace the positives, especially when it comes to diet and lifestyle, because generally the weather is still lovely and there's tons of fresh local produce available. The farmers markets are still thriving. So there's way more atmosphere of positivity and health out there in the month of September. January, it's there, but it's a little bit harder to find. It's a little bit harder to put your coat on and go out and get it. But in September, there's just so much access to fresh food.
Right.
And that's really the crux of the first step we need to take, is eating fresh food close to the way it was actually created.
And you talk about you developing a new normal. This is a phrase, a favorite phrase of yours, because that's what you encourage people to do. Once a person recognizes that there is a need for improvement, it doesn't take much in all of us to recognize that there's a need. But if there's a real need for improvement, then that need can develop in a very positive way into the new normal, or more importantly, your new normal, can't it?
Very much so. And you actually nailed it right there by saying your new normal.
Yeah.
Because it's so important for us to acknowledge that what's right for you may not work for me. And there's a lot of fad diets, and there's a lot that your friends tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't. You have to find what's right for you, and that's the most important thing. And it's not a temporary thing. Living well and health is not temporary. It's not a diet plan you go on and go off of.
Right.
It's a new normal. You create the life you want that supports you to feel good, to have energy, to enjoy, and have really good quality of life.
And this is all about, and Dr. Paul, you've been doing this with your patients, and you've told me in the past how frustrating it was for you, particularly as a young doctor. You get that eye contact. Here you are. It's been your blood pressure's fine. I checked your blood work. It's great. You're still a little heavy. You could do with a few pounds, and here's your prescription for whatever. And the patient looks at you and goes, yeah, great, thanks, doc, I'll take that now, and see you in 6 months. And even though you looked him straight in the eye and said, listen, here, this you would really benefit from losing some weight and doing some rudimentary exercise work, that's in one ear and out the other, because it's the prescription, and see ya. That's what it's all about. We have to change, and we have to become wellness orientated, don't we?
Yeah, it is, and then it's the empowerment for you to make that decision in your life and to what to do. But sometimes things are so complicated, especially in the nutrition world. There's so much different kind of information. That's where, if you go to a person like Patty, it can simplify it for you. It's just that it's that sort of decision that I'm going to go and see her.
Right.
And so I suspect that, Patty, probably the most common feature is that somebody's going to come to see you and say, God, I just don't have the energy. I just don't feel as well as I should be feeling, and I just can't do the things like I've been able to do. Can you help me achieve that? And sort of how would you deal with that? Rather than having something that's really complicated to them, and make it so that they're going to achieve that empowerment.
That's very often when people come to me is just a feeling of malaise and not well anymore, and a definite difference, and generally some extra weight. And so we really break it down to what does a day look like in your life. We talk about breakfast, lunch, snacks, exactly what you're eating. I'll do a grocery shopping tour of a grocery store to create that, because a lot of grocery shopping we do on autopilot. So we need to create a new normal with our grocery shopping too. So shopping the perimeter of the store, and how to actually break down a day to include lots of vegetables, and what's a good lean protein and those sorts of things, and dispelling the myths on grains and a few other things like that, but really break the day down to everything they're doing in that day.
We need to take a break, but I want you to walk us through the grocery store when we come back. Because, oh man, the conspiracy to keep us fat and unwell, boy, it all happens in the supermarket. Our guests from YesWellness.com, Dr. Paul Zicler and Patty Smyth, registered holistic nutritionist. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650, with lots more still to come.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.